Okay, what's good, guys? It's me, Gerald the Weep here, back again with another video. Okay, this is what if Into the Shadow was in ReZero. Please, guys, enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe, and do the rest. I'm thinking of going to make reaction videos, but I don't know how because I still want to react to anime. I'll figure it out sooner or later. Anyway, okay, let's just get straight to the video. Okay, so this is, if you don't know, I'm Into the Shadow. You're living under a rock. It's just about this guy named Sid. He's just someone that works in the shadows, and he's trying to stop this cult that he kind of made up, but is actually real. So, yep, that's all you need to know about Sid. And this Sid is gonna be the end of season 1 Sid, not season 2. This is right after an explosion happens. He says, "I am atomic." Okay. After he says that, his purple mist takes over, and the two ladies he was fighting at the time hear him screaming as he disappears. As this happens, Sid, like he comes back to, and he's sitting on the ground in front of the apple guy. You know what I mean? And he says, "Oh, looks like there's another one." And Sid, hood is off, and he's just wearing his normal clothes. He's like, "What the what? I think I went a little overboard." And Sid says he looks the exact same. He's like, "Where is Alpha and where are they?" And he doesn't sense any of his allies nowhere by. And he says, "What is this place? Apple guy?" And the Apple guy says, "My name's not Apple guy. You're in Lagunica. If you have no business with me, get out of here." And Sid says, "Lagunica? What the heck is that?" And he says, "Well, looks like I gotta start walking then. I must be off the map or something." And then Sid starts to think maybe he got transported to the past, or he's in the future somewhere. And then he's like, "Then where's the shadows? Should I just walk back to our headout?" As he's walking, just trying to figure out where his bearings are, he sees a guy, stabbed and bleeding out, and he says, "So bad for that guy." As he keeps walking by, a reset happens. He goes back to his past. He says, "I am atomic. What? I was just he," and poof, he's back to the apple guy. And Sid's like, "What the heck's going on? Who are you? The person with this magical ability that's keeping me here? Is it you?" The apple guy's looking at him. "This is the first time I'm meeting you. Are you okay? You need help, man." And Sid says, "I don't need help. Where am I?" He says, "Lagunica. So get off my stand, crazy person." And Sid says, "Okay, I'm stuck in this time loop, which is kind of cool. But I need to figure it out, because I am Shadow. I must lurk." As Sid is walking around, he's like, "Okay, that guy from the alley's not there anymore." He's talking, as he's looking, he says, "He's not there anymore. He's running." Why is he running? He says, "But he died last time. That's weird." And he walks up to this guy named Reinhardt, and he says, "He wasn't he stabbed?" He says, Reinhardt says he was almost stabbed, but he said to go to this place, but civilian, just stay out of it. And he says, What's this place?" He says, "Civilian doesn't need to know." And Reinhardt just walks away, and he follows after Subaru. And Sid says, "Okay, what the heck is going on? Why can I not communicate with anyone?" And so Sid is like, "Okay." He jumps up onto a building, and he starts walking to see what is like happening. He says, "Okay, what is really going on?" And his memory starts to get foggy. He says, I said I was atomic. I keep getting bleeped out of existence. I keep ending up with this Apple guy. Why do I keep having Groundhog Day? And he says, well, looks like I gotta keep searching around then. As he keeps searching around, he finally finds Subaru after 3 to 4 hours later. And he says, oh, it's that guy was stabbed last time. And he's now attacking, and he sees that he's getting attacked by a person. And he says, well, I'll just watch from the background. That's what I usually do. And he then hears their conversation saying about this insignia. He says, insignia? So I'm in an old kingdom, I see. So Laguna gives an old kingdom with princesses and queens. And they're fighting for this throne. Got it. Yeah, Sid is dumb, but he's not like dumb. Like I said, he's just a background character. He's just there. He says, as the midst of the shadows, I must get that insignia and return it to the princess. And then manipulate her into becoming more powerful. And he says, I am power. And he says, no, wait, that would make me a main character. This is what he's saying in his mind. And he then just follows them around. And Felt keeps looking around because she can see that someone's right behind them, but she doesn't know where he's at. And Sid, as he's following, he's basically like, okay, I've waited here for 2 hours. I haven't went back to finding that heiress person. I forgot the elf's name, if you know what I'm talking about. You know, Alpha's auntie, I guess you could say. I don't know. I can't. Beatrix, yeah, Beatrix, yeah. Sounds like Beatrice, but it's Beatrix, I think. Yeah, they're both similar. Anyway, so as he is following, he sees Elsa the vampire. Like, if you don't know, and you don't know, it's just a legendary vampire that hunts her. And she walks inside and he says, what an interesting character I see. Subaru then attacks, well, like in the original anime, but sits there this time. And he says, well, I want to see something. So Sid actually goes in there to help Elsa. He says, I am the immense of the shadow. I am darkness itself. And he says, I've been watching you all this time. Why do you keep And as Sid says this, he starts coughing up blood. He's like, what the? And he stops saying it, and he's like, what the heck is this? And Subaru says, do you know what I am? And Sid says, okay, you have some weird OP ability. And he then turns to Subaru's side. He says, okay, can you please not try to kill me with whatever you just did? And Subaru says, I didn't do anything. What is my ability? Do you know? And he says, you have a shadow ability. That's what you have. Only you can awaken it when you become darkness. I don't know why. I can't take myself serious. And Subaru says, okay, well then, can you help us fight this woman then? And Amelia says, who is this person? Do you know him? And he says, no. But Shadow says, I've seen him around town, and I followed him. Anyway, I'll help you. And Elsa then throws an attack at Sid, and Sid dodges pretty easily, and he just envelops Elsa into slime. And he says, well, that was easy. Now, anyway, I would like, as she then breaks out, she cuts Sid's neck, and it starts gushing blood, but he stops it with his slime, and he says, okay, you're a lot more serious than I thought. And he then picks up his trusty crowbar, and he says, here you go, have one. And Subaru says, where did you get a crowbar from? Are you from the future or something? Are you from Japan? And he says, oh no, I'm from Oh my god. Bro, my computer's turned off. I can't see. I can't see. I kind of forgot what Sid came from. He comes from a kingdom. That's all you need to know. Anyway, the screen went black. Yeah, I don't like when things go black. Like me. Okay. Anyway, as Sid says what kingdom he's from, Subaru says, "Oh, so there's other kingdoms here. I see." And Sid notices that he has an ability, but he doesn't know what this ability is. It's like some MC ability. And he says, "I need to stay away from you." Subaru says, "Subaru." As this is happening, Elsa says, "Stop getting distracted." And Sid just keeps blocking her attacks with his slime, and he says, "Anyway, you're just only the main course to the main villain. Where is the real villain at? You're pretty weak. You only got lucky with that attack." And he then grabs her with his slime ability and then throws her out the building. And Reinhardt then kicks her right back in. That's when Reinhardt comes in out of nowhere. And Sid says, "Nice assist. Unite." Ha 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 ha. "I am the Shadow. I am atomic." And he says, "I will go back to my world." And Reinhardt says, "Oh, you're that weird person from earlier. I can tell from your magic." And he says, "Oh, you know the Shadow?" And he says, "I think you're him. I can't remember. Anyway, I'll finish this off. Can you just, guys, just stand back?" And as he's about to try to finish off Elsa retreats. And Sid then attaches one of his slimes so he could track her for later. So he can get her for a contract. You'll see in the future. Anyway, he says, "Oh, looks like she escaped." And Reinhardt then says, "I'm sorry for being late." And Subaru says, "Yep, you're very much late." And Subaru then asks, "Okay, who are you to begin with?" And he's like not trying to ignore Amelia. Amelia was attacking there, but she's so confused with this shadow person. And she's like, "Who's this shadow person?" He says, "I am Shadow. I work in the shadows. I came to help because Subaru was gonna die. That's why I came to help. And I need him to help me get back to my world. I am not from this time period. I'm from the future. I'm from 18..." And then he says, "That's all you need to know. I'm from the future. 500 years into the future. You can just tell by my technology. I have a train. I can..." He then shows, like, he created a train right in front of him, a slime train. He says, "We use this to get around in the future." And Subaru says, "It's just a train." And he says, "So you are from the future too?" And he says, "No, I'm not. I just have different clothing on." He says, "Why do you have Japanese clothing on then? Stop lying. You're the main character, aren't you?" Ha ha ha. It don't matter though. I'm gonna stay in the shadows. Now anyway, peace out. As Amelia is so confused by this, she's just dumbfounded. And she says, "Stop right there. For helping assisting me, do you want any reward? You helped with the insignia, even though you didn't have to." And Subaru says, "I helped more though. I brought him here, technically." And Shadow says, "No, I'll be going." And his stomach starts to growl, and he says, "Actually, I need food. Shadow always needs food. Do you have somewhere I could get food?" And she says, "I have a mansion that I reside in, and you can have all the food you want. If that's, will make up the debt, today." And Shadow says, "That's a deal." And he then says, "Well, time to go." He just walks outside, and Subaru is just still dumbfounded. He says, this guy is so weird. He has a complex or something." And Amelia also thanks Subaru for helping also with the insignia. And as Phil is trying to like just throw back the insignia to Amelia, Reinhardt grabs her arm and he says, "Oh, this is interesting. I'll be taking her to with me." And Amelia says, is it because you're gonna arrest her? He says, no, it's for something else. Anyway, be safe on your way home. As this is happening, Subaru doesn't get knocked out this time because, he didn't get cut to death. Because Shadow, Reinhardt, plus Amelia is able to throw it off Elsa. So as this happens, Shadow jumps on the hood of the vehicle and he says, a person in a maid outfit. Yes, this is the main character's harem. I see. I must stay away. And Rom is the person in the maid outfit driving the carriage. Says, who's this weirdo on the carriage? And Amelia says, it's Shadow. And Subaru says, he's a mentor of the shadows. He lurks in the darkness. He is Shadow. And Rom says, another weird one I see. Amelia, we should just abandon them and leave. And Shadow says, you cannot abandon atomic darkness itself. I only will need food from you, and then I will be gone in a couple of days. I need to get back to my group. And Amelia then asks, what is this group called? He says, it lurks in the shadow. And Subaru says, okay, enough with the shadow. What is it called? He says, Garden. Shadow Garden. But he doesn't sense any of his members. That's what he says. He's from the future or something. But he doesn't remember. And he looks closer to Amelia. He says, you're an elf, right? There's lots of elves in where I come from. So you must be one of those founding elves, aren't you? And Amelia says, I don't know what you mean. The elves died out a long time ago. Oh my goodness. My phone started ringing. Freaking. These people scam calling me. Ever since I became an young adult, scam calls everywhere. I do not like that. I do not like it. Okay, anyway, so Sid basically says, like I said, there's lots of elves in my organization. I could he looked like this. He makes a figure of them and he says, see, these elves are very much alive. So Amelia then says, so I do break that curse then. What else happens in the future? Can you tell me who's the leader? And he says, I don't remember you. Maybe you're from very long ago. I don't remember ever reading about you, Amelia. And Subaru says, oh, what about me? I'm going to be her knight. And Subaru says, if you want me to. As this drive goes on, Sid explains how he's gotten there. Not to the point where he can die. He just says he was attacked and then he blew a bomb up and then he was just sent here. And Subaru says it feels like he doesn't have very much good memory of himself either. As they are telling this, they arrive at the mansion. Yeah, it's been 3 days. And nothing really happens in those 3 days. So as Sid gets there, he stops in the village and he says, I would like to stay in this village. You guys can head on to the mansion. He says, I must now recruit more people into the Shadows organization. And he tries to find out where the cursed people are. He's still not sensing anyone. But he does sense the witch cultists. He senses their dark energy. And he also found... oh my god. Is it Belt? I cannot remember her name, but it's a child in the village that portrays the village. I cannot remember her name. Is it... It's not... Why am I thinking Melty? I cannot remember her name. Oh my goodness. He then says, you work with the occult. I know you do. And this child is holding a cursed dog. And this is Subaru is already at the mansion. He says, I don't know why you're holding that accursed dog, but I think I know who you are. Your sister with Elsa, aren't you? He's just making a guess. He doesn't believe that he's right. And she then backs away and she says, how do you know this? And she then is about to attack him. But he says, no, don't attack. You won't win. I defeated Elsa. But I allowed her to live. But I want you to join my organization. And I want you to keep Subaru safe. he has a very special ability that I don't understand. Now, and he then just teleports to her. He's then takes. Oh my goodness, the freaking computer keeps turning off. Oh my. Okay, I remembered her name. Melly. Melly is her name. He then flies towards like. Okay, I kind of forgot a couple of things to say. Like they went into a back alley in the village and then flew away. And then yeah, after 3 hours of flying. Okay, let's just say hour and a half. Because I'm pretty sure Sid would be able to find her because he has a tracker on her. He then goes straight to Elsa and he says, I found you quite easily, and I brought your sister along. And he's throwing this off the top of his head. He says, win it till you fake it. And she says, she captured her easily, I see. And she says, no, she thought you were captured. He says, yes, I played a good trick on you guys. Now, anyway, I want you guys to join my organization. And they said no. And he says, but I will have to attack both of you. You guys won't win. I've already defeated both of you. And Melty says, you haven't. And he then enveloped her with into slime. And she breaks it up with her beast she had with her, the dog. He turns to attack Sid, and Sid runs away into the shadow, and then he throws a dagger right into the dog's heart. He says, that was quite dangerous. You shouldn't throw dogs like that at people. And Elsa says she's quite amused. I'll hear your offer. And he says, yes, hear my offer. And he then realizes that he cannot read. And he says he only knows barely enough information about the money. And he says, well then, I need you to teach me how to read first, and then I'll get this organization really going. And Elsa then says, you really are an interesting person. Sure. And then he says, we can hunt down bounties. I know where any bounty is. Any target. And then he remembers and he says, but you cannot go after Subaru or Amelia. They're very important. They're very important characters. Trust me. And they don't know what he means by that. He says, they're main characters. But anyway, ignore that. Now, it's time for the Shadow Organization in the past to be founded. We will call ourselves Zero Garden. Yes, the perfect name. As Shadow says to this, he then he also put a tracker on Subaru. He then notices that Subaru's is running away from the mansion. He says, why is he running away from the mansion? And he then he uses his shadow thing to like just start attacking in every direction. And then Subaru then stops running. He says, well, looks like I did with that problem. As he does that, he says, I'll be bringing her Moti back. You promise me on my deal. And he then flies back to see what happens to Subaru. And Subaru, he can't find Subaru. And he lands where this attack happened. And he sees someone's head is cut off. He says, oh my, I should have stopped using so much power. And Subaru is over there bleeding to death. And he says, Shadow. And he says, I didn't do it. She attacked me. And he says, what'd you do? You killed one of the maids? Ugh. Main characters are not supposed to do that. They're supposed to be your side help. And he looks at Subaru and he says, I don't know why Rem would do this. What am I gonna tell Amelia and her sister? And he says, don't worry about it. I'll fix everything. And he then sees that he attaches her head again. He says, poof, now it's all fixed. And he starts moving her like a puppet. He says, okay, she is not fixed. She says her head is just attached. And Subaru says, My leg is hurting very badly. And he says, I already healed your leg. You're not going to bleed out. But he says, I'm going to do that ability you keep telling me about. I think I can save her. And Shadow says, what do you mean, what ability? He says, oh no. That means we're going to probably start from the zero again. I would really like it if you would not. It's just one person. And Subaru says, I can't allow someone's sister just to die. You wouldn't want that to happen to one of your family members, would you? Because some untrustworthy people just came in. You don't know who they are. I'll forgive her this time. I'll help her see that I'm a good person. She kept calling me this witch person. And Subaru then says, I did figure out more information. This Satella, and he's asked this Satella, what is this Satella person you speak of? She's a legendary witch from 400 years ago that almost destroyed this kingdom. And she's part of the 7 witches. And he says, 7 witches? So there's other witches I see? Maybe we have lost a lot of history. There's also vampires here too. And I also didn't run into the other vampires. And he says, this is quite interesting. Well then, Subaru, I guess my Zero Garden won't be happening. I'll stay by your side for now. And Shadow says, you can just call me Sid. But I'll still lurk in the shadows. But Shadow will be my real name, if you remember. I just wanted to test this out. And he says, sure. And Shadow then says, well, off with your head. Hopefully this works. And Subaru says, I'm ready. And then Subaru gets his head cut off by Shadow as Amelia and Ram arrived. As Subaru's head is rolling onto the floor, he says, Shadow's like, uh-oh. It's not resetting. What's going on? And he says, oh, hey guys, this is kind of awkward. He says, Subaru basically, kind of killed your sister by accident, and he said he didn't want to live anymore, so I did that. And he's like, well, this is quite awkward. I thought I would go back with him. And he then says, maybe I have to say, oh crap. He says, maybe I have to die. He then says, well, it's only worth one way trying. As he then says, he has this ability to go back into... And he then dies himself, he says. And he jumps back up into the village where he's flying with Melly. He's like, okay, Zero Shadow Garden's not starting yet. But I know your sister. She's in this location. And he shows her this location and he says, I gotta help Subaru. Anyway, peace out. And he then runs, and the villagers try to keep playing with Sid, but he's like, I'm tired of this village life already. I gotta get moving. And as he is running to help Subaru, he says, I have to really kill... So if I kill Subaru, then I have to die. But if someone else kills Subaru, then I still die with him. What is this? And he says, and no one else remembers besides us? I'll see. As he makes it back to the mansion, Subaru is just felt into the garden. He's like, oh, Shadow, you're back. And he says, where's this Rem person? And he says, oh, Rem is helping cooking in the mansion. He says, okay, how do we deal with her? And Amelia is very confused on how he knows Rem. Subaru tells that he can he gave a note to Shadow what was happening, and he says, I still need to find my organization. It's already been 3 days. And he also forgot he got bit by the dog, and he says, why is this dog biting me? And he then just kills the dog right in front of Amelia, and he says, Amelia gets angry at Shadow. She says, "Why did you kill this dog?" And he says, "It's a cursed dog, so don't worry about it." Melty kind of left it with him, and oh my god, the computer keeps turning off. It's so annoying. He says, "Anyway, so where do I find the rest of these elves you said that are frozen?" And they were talking about this on their journey. She says it's all the way back in, oh my goodness, in the elf village. I forgot exactly where it's at, but they're all frozen. He says, "I want to try freeing them with Subaru. Would you come and help me?" And Subaru says, "Sure. If this helps Amelia become happy with more elves, then so be it." And Amelia says, "No, I forbid you going there." And Shadow says, "As I have my own organization. When I figure out where they at, I can just ask them to go whenever I figure this out." And Shadow's like, "Okay, but why can I not go?" She says, "I must do it myself. It's my fault that happened, I think." And he says, "So you're hiding something from us, I see. Well then, you can keep it to yourself." Anyway, he says he wants to meet the person who owns this mansion. And Roswell appears and he says, "And who are you supposed to be?" Because Roswell doesn't know this person. He says, "I work in the shadows. I am Shadow." And Shadow says, "You must be Roswald." He just reads it off something. He takes a note off of Roswald, and that's how he knows his name. He says, "Oh, you're very informed, I see. Anyway, you can have all the food you want. That's what you promised to Amelia. So you can go ahead and do that. You can stay as a guest as long as you want." And Subaru says, "Why do I have to be a butler then?" "You chose that. That's why." That's what Sid says. "Anyway, I must now go eat. And also, I need someone to teach me how to read. I cannot read." And Subaru says, "Oh, so you don't know how to read this stuff either." And Roswell says, "Why are both of you guys illiterate? But you guys can speak the language very fine." And Shadow then is like, "Well, I don't know myself. Anyway, I'm gonna go hit the haystack with food. Peace out." As this is happening, Shadow then goes to sleep, and in his sleep he meets a witch from his time. I can't remember her name, but if you know the Shadow, this is this witch that was born four. It's kind of like similar. She was born hundreds of years before Shadow Garden was created, and she comes to visit him. She is the only one he can see, and he says, "How are you here?" And she says, "I just traveled with you here. I don't know how. What is this place? It's not the past, nor the future. Anyway, I'll just be guiding you to help with those other witches. I also sense them too." And he says, "Well, I don't need help. Just keep Subaru safe if you can help." And she says, "Just let me take over your body and I'll help out real good." And Shadow says, "I don't think you can take over my body." And he says, "Well, go ahead and try. I'll see what happens." And he tries to see if his body gets taken over. And she's able to take over his body. And he says, "This is very interesting. So if you get injured or I get injured, we can just switch places. Very interesting." And Shadow then realizes that his whole body changed. He says, "What the heck's going on? Why am I the witch?" And she then says, "I don't know either." He says, "Well, anyway, it's time for me to dip." He then wakes up and then he remembers that Subaru was going to get attacked by Ren. But Subaru is in the village, is heading toward the village, and he says, "Oh crap, I gotta get out of here." As he slips out the window, he falls straight into the garden also. And Amelia says, "Who are you supposed to be?" And Shadow then says, "It's me, Shadow. It's in my other form." And Amelia saying, "You're very weird. I don't even know how that's even possible, how you're able to do that." And the witch then takes over and says, "I've come here from the future. I am a future witch." And Amelia then says, "So you took over Shadow's body, I see." And she then opens up her eyes and he says, "What type of witch are you then?" And she says, "Calm down. I'm not one of the witches of this world. From a different one. Now, I would like to speak with you about this Satella. You're not this Satella. I know that much. You don't have those abilities I was reading about." And yeah, she was here the whole time. I just kind of forgot to mention her. She kind of traveled with Shadow. Like, he has his own Satella. Gosh. That's like filling in. Okay, anyway, as I keep saying anyway. You know it's been a while since I did a video, if I keep saying that. As she explains what Satella is, she says, "Thank you for not assuming that, whoever you are, witch." And she says, "No problem. Now, your maid keeps attacking Subaru, which is not good." And Shadow says, "Was going to attack. My future vision saw that they were going to attack each other. But it looks like they're doing good. Maybe I did change the future by coming here." And Amelia is like, so you can see into the future, you're from the future, and you also have a witch inside of you. What? And yeah, Amelia just says, I'm just going to my room." And she just disappears. She's just so confused by this situation that she doesn't know how to wrap her brain around it. And she's then says, "Just go and see what they're doing. If you think they're gonna attack, if anything happens, just tell me." And Shadow then flies towards Subaru, and Subaru is still about to be attacked. But this happens a lot more later. He thought he saved. He thought he was able to get out of this witch maxima, and Shadow starts to notice it too. But I don't know why Shadow. I still have him in that witch form. I'm so petty. I don't know what to go. Okay. Oh my goodness. And Shadow then realizes that he had to have been afflicted with that curse from the Diablos to be able to get switched like this. But he never got afflicted though. It only happens to women. And he's like, that doesn't matter right now. He then says, "Rem, I still don't know who you are, but stop this attack." And she then says, "And who are you supposed to be?" And he says, "I'm the witch, Satella, and you'll die if you attack Subaru." And Subaru says, "Why would you say that? I don't even know you." And he says, "I am Shadow. I am atomic. If you want to die so badly, go ahead and be my guest. You won't be able to attack him." Amelia already trusts him, and me. And attacking him will just only ruin your relationship. And also, it's 2-on-1 now, so you won't be able to win this battle. And Shadow then takes her Lucky Star weapon, and she then says, "What? How did you get this?" And he says, "Now, be a nice girl and just go back to the mansion." And she says, "I won't allow you to. I want to trust you, witch cultist. I won't allow it. I'd rather die right here than..." And Shadow's like, "Okay, that's enough of this." And he just grabs Rem, and he doesn't kill her because Subaru said he wants to keep her alive. And they just says, "Okay, well, I know what to deal with her." And he says, "What? Maybe I can just do another reset. Maybe that will fix it." And Shadow starts coughing up blood. He says, "Stop saying that word." And he then goes back to normal. He says, "Like I said, I'll fix her." And he starts experimenting on Rem. He's like, "I'll make her the perfect Shadow Guard member." And Subaru then says, it's been a day since she disappeared and everyone's worried. Are you done yet? And he then, after a day, says, okay, there we go. I've now fixed her. And he gives her a shadow outfit. He says, this is what my organization used to wear. And now I changed her memories to match with us being respected. And she then kneels down to Subaru and says, Knight, I'll protect you. And Subaru says, this is kind of messed up. I wanted to do this more nicely. And he says, Subaru, I fixed our problem. She was the only one attacking us. Now we gotta make sure she still acts normal around them. She says, Shadow, I'll protect you also. And my sister. And Amelia. She will become queen. And Shadow was like, yeah, I think I broke her a little bit too much. He did mind manipulation on her. And Subaru says, we'll see for now. Hopefully we don't get stuck on a bad checkpoint, though. As this is happening, Rem finally shows back and she says, I was out training in the mountains with Shadow. That's why we are gone for so long. And I would end the video right here, but I'm not. This is now part 2 of What If Events in the Shadow happened. Okay, anyway, yeah, that was all of part 1. And now part 2 starts. And yeah, it's going to be a while since before I make another video. Maybe another week or 2. So I'm going to make 2 parts. This is now the second part. And Shadow then says, yes, a new member. Ho ho ho. Why did I sound like Ben, the talking dog? Oh my. Lucky Charm. Oh, I'm thinking of the Lucky Charm summer dress. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm started rambling. Okay, anyway. Shadow then explains that Rem just wanted to get more training. And Rams thinks there's something wrong with her sister, but she can't put her eye on it. He says, well, can you be more careful next time, Rem? And she says, Shadow-sama is what giving me this new strength. I think I can even beat Roswell now. And she says that jokingly. And Roswell starts laughing and he says, yep, that doesn't really sound like you, Rem. And she says, yep, in a joking way. And she then goes into the mansion and says, it's time for me to get back clean. And Subaru is still weirded out by this. He says, this is so weird. She's not herself anymore. Maybe I should. And Shadow says, no. You will not do this. And Shadow says, I forgot to tell you, but when you died, when death happened, he says it so he doesn't get the curse. He says, when death happened, I remained. So, we're both connected. Remember. And Subaru is like, okay, I understand. Please just... He says, no, I'm just guessing. I really don't know for sure. So please just be careful. That's all I'm asking. And as this is happening, he also goes back to do his original plan with Shadow Garden. So he now has Elsa, Melly, and Rem, technically, on the new Shouting Zero Garden, you could say. And he says, we are now 4 members. You'll be the first 4. He'll make Rem, since she has blue hair, he's like, I'll call you Beta 2. And Melly will be Delta because she has Beast, Delta 2. And Elsa would just be, what is it? Oh my goodness. I can't now remember Elsa. Okay, Delta. Not Delta. No, she... Oh yeah, Zeta. I'll just make her Zeta, or whatever. That'll be Elsa's code name. And he says, we are now must make Amelia queen of this world. Now, first we must kill and Rem says we can't kill anyone from the world from the royal guards are protecting them. Even if we do succeed, Amelia will just be questioned and then lose her title right away. And Shadow says, very good, very smart. But what I mean by kill is change them. into running outside of the race. After he says, after the selection is over, Amelia wins. I'll be able to go back, and if it's up to you guys, if you guys want to come with me. And he doesn't know for sure if he will be able to actually go back, but he says this is what will happen. Now, Subaru. Now let's go over to Subaru. What Subaru was doing. Since Rem keeps disappearing, he still is very worried about her. He says, "Why did I allow Sid to do this? She's not even herself anymore." Now Ram is worried about her, and then Rem starts walking back with Shadow, and he says, "Oh, you guys are finally back. What were you guys doing?" And Rem says, it's a secret. And Subaru says, "Oh, a secret? You guys can't tell me?" And Shadow says, "We were thinking of I was thinking of stopping the other royal selection. It's now been a couple of weeks. It's basically about to be the witch cultists are about to attack. So yeah, so since Shadow's here, Subaru only died 3 times. So he would have died with Ram, but he manipulated Ram to not attack Subaru, and she's now mind controlled. And Subaru doesn't like that he did that to her, but he's just glad he's safe inside his mind. But Subaru's energy is still quite dark. He's becoming a shadow. But Shadow says, "I will be training you now, Subaru. It's been over 2 weeks since we got here, and you barely train your magic. Your magic is very weak. And your swordsmanship is very unpolished. I'll be training you." And Shadow then attacks Subaru, and he says, "Subaru, what district from Japan were you from?" And he then tells him where he was from, and he also says that he was also from Japan also, but he was reincarnated into the Kaganos. And he was at school, and then an attack happened, and he was transferred here. And Garden was created. He still doesn't know why, though. He's trusting Subaru a little bit more. But why are you here? Who put you here? Do you remember? And Subaru says, "No, I think," and Shadow says, "It was Satella that did this to us. We need to figure out where she is." And Subaru then starts to pick up Shadow's techniques. Not slime, though, because Subaru doesn't have the ability to get the slime stuff down. So Shadow says, "Here's slime, and you can use it to attack using the sword, and I can automatically correct your attacks." And he then says, "I want you to fight Rem now." And Rem then pulls out her Lucky Star, and she says, "I'll go easy." And she then swings the... Is it Lucky Star or... No, her mace at Subaru. And Subaru is barely able to dodge, and he gets thrown back into the fountain. And he then uses the shadow slime that Shadow gave him, and jumps up into the air, and he is able to block one of Rem's attacks, and she then kicks him in the gut, and then tries to throw the mace again, and he wraps it. He's barely able to wrap around the mace around his other arm, and he then shoots Shadow slime at, Rem. Oh yeah, that's what Shadow uses to attack, if you didn't know. And she's able to use the Shadow slime, though, because she uses a water mixture. Because she also knows how to use water, so it's easier for her to create slime. So her slime can be a little hardened, just like them. And she blocks that attack and says, "Okay, that's good, but you still need to work on your attacks and not rely on Shadow's ability. Subaru-sama." Why do I keep saying that? I don't know. I think Ram would just sound like that. And he says, "Wow, she got even stronger." And he then starts to get confident again. He says, "With Shadow's power, I can actually become powerful and actually protect myself." And Amelia sees that they were fighting, and she comes downstairs to stop this, and she says, "Why are you guys fighting?" And Shadow says Subaru wanted to get stronger, and that's what we're doing. As this is happening, she says she's going to this royal. So I'm getting so tired of this computer turning off. Okay, she says she's going to a royal selection, and Puck is. I know I haven't forgot about Puck. Puck is just in the background. He doesn't trust Shadow. That's why he's mostly quiet. And he says, "Keep the mansion safe, guys." And Shadow tries to pet Puck, and Puck moves away, and he says, "You lurk in the shadows. I don't want darkness touching me." And he punches Shadow, and he says, "Protect Amelia with your guys' lives." That's all I will say. And he also sees that Subaru has that shadow stuff on. He says, "You should use your own abilities, Subaru, if you want to be a knight." And Subaru says, "I'll get strong enough that I don't have to rely on Shadow." And Shadow then says, "Where's Roswell?" Roswell then starts walking out, and he says, "We'll be going to a royal selection very soon." And Felix and Wilhelm will be coming to visit to hear about the news. And Subaru says, "Oh, two guys I see. Okay." And he says, "Well, we'll be heading to the capital. We'll be back in a couple of days." And Subaru says he wants to come with to make sure Amelia's alright, but she says she has Roswell and Puck, so she'll be alright. But Subaru says, "I'm still gonna go." And he did say yes, he would stay, but Shadow and Subaru said they're still gonna go. And Rem says, "I'll keep watch on the manor." And as Felix and Wilhelm arrive, they see that there's two new people that they never saw here before. And they both call themselves knights for Amelia. And Shadow is like, "So where's this Felix person at?" And Shadow's like, "Oh no." And Subaru's like, "Oh yeah. Oh no." Okay, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so after they say, "Oh, so you're the one who's Felix." Yeah, they figure out that he's actually... Okay, so I just figured out that 10 minutes of video is going to be a little bit of static, so sorry about that. Just only 10 minutes. Now, anyway, after Felix and when Wilhelm arrive, they say that you guys seem pretty strong. You guys should guard Amelia with you guys' lives. And Shadow said, "Do you guys know any more information about the royal selection? We just now arrived 2 weeks ago under Amelia's tutelage." And they said that the royal selection should be happening very soon. And that she's in last place, basically. And Subaru says there's no way she could be last place. And Wilhelm says it's because she's an elf. They keep stigmatizing her with Satella. That's why. And Felix nods and says, "Yep, that's probably why." And Shadow is very confused by this, and he says, "So, I know quite a lot of people, but it seems like the elves are not here. I see. This is quite interesting. Anyway, thank you for telling me this information. Now, he then goes inside and he says, "Subaru, we'll be packing now." And he says, "Where are we going?" "We're going to meet up with Amelia later, but we're going to that forest. We're going to go find it." And Rems points them in the direction where the forest is to see what happened to these elves. And Subaru says, "I want to go see Amelia, though." And he says, "You keep forgetting that I can fly, right?" And Subaru then's like, "Oh yeah, you can fly. When are you going to teach me how to fly?" And he says, "You'll learn." And he then adds another, he added slime onto his back, and he says, "Use that to jump around." And Subaru starts using it like gripping, like It's like a Satella's hands. Imagine that as a Satella's hands. He's using that, kind of like that. He starts floating in the air, and he says, "Come on, keep jumping." And he starts to get tired after an hour of traveling. Sid is like, "I don't want to carry you, but it looks like I must." And he then says, "Come on." And he grabs Subaru's hand and he says, "Let go of my hand, bro." And he says, "Hey, this won't get romantic unless you make it." Oh, okay, Sid would probably not say that. He would be like, "Don't make it weird." Anyway, and he starts flying with Sid. So it takes them a day to get there because Amelia would just be kind of arriving there in Lagunica. So it's still good. As they arrive to the forest village with all the elves frozen, they walk around and they see everything is frozen, and he's like, "Oh, I see. So Amelia did this to her people. Very interesting." And Subaru is he's dumbfounded, and he's in shock that Amelia would do such a thing. She says, "Why would she kill her own clan? I don't understand. Is this why she wants to become queen, so they can be able to melt this ice? She doesn't know how to melt this ice, I see." And Shadow says, "Yep. Now, it's time for me to experiment." And Subaru says, "Sure, we'll experiment." And he says, "But we need to get back to Amelia." And he says, "You can get back to Amelia. You have the ability to. It's up to you if you want to. But I won't be able to help you. And if you die, I will kill you." And he says that in a joking way. And Subaru says, "I won't die." And he starts to walk back, and he says, "Try to free one of those elves by the time you get back." And as Subaru is about to leave, Shadow breaks one of the ice already, and it frees older elf. And its stomach is already, their stomach is stabbed. And he says, "Oh my." And Subaru runs back and he sees that this elf looks exactly like Amelia. He says, maybe it's her mother or something. And he then says, "Can we heal her?" And he says, "Let's see." And he then goes into the to the witch form, and she's able to mind possess into this person. And she says, "I finally got a body." Yeah, so basically she took over the witch that was with Shadow took over Amelia's aunt's body. You'll see. And Shadow's like, "Oh sweet, you finally got a body. This is quite interesting." And Subaru says, "Oh, so you're that witch that Shadow is accompanied with in Shadow Garden." And she says, "I haven't been alive in years." And she says, "Well, it's not too bad." And she heals this the wound that was caused by the gut. And she says, "Well, what do we do now? Do we free the rest of these elves?" Yeah, I know this story is getting really good. I haven't did nothing like this before. If you guys still watching, you guys better be watching. Okay, I'll chillax. Now Shadow says, "I want you to go back with Subaru." And Subaru says, "Okay, let's go then." And she tries to figure out how to fly in this body. And she grabs Subaru and starts flying back. As a day goes by, another day goes by, Amelia is about to leave after the royal selection. Yeah, so in this timeline, he doesn't make it to the royal selection. He just finally makes it to the capital. And he says, "Hide your face, witch. She's gonna think she might recognize you." And she says, "Okay, sure." And Subaru then walks around, and he then runs into Felix again. And he says, "Oh, it's you, Subaru. What are you doing here? Amelia already left. I thought you were going to stay back. That's what she said you were planning on doing." And he says, "Oh, it's Amelia right there." And Subaru says, "No, it's just an acquaintance." Now, what happened in the royal selection? Can you tell me? And he says, "I wanted to be there, but Amelia, I was too late. I was helping Shadow with something." He says, "Oh, basically, this girl named Felt was now another royal selection, and Amelia had a powerful speech saying that she would be able to connect all people of all races." That's basically what she said. And she's now heading back. And Subaru says, "Well, looks like I'll just head back tomorrow then. Thank you." And Felix says, "You can just stay at the Carush's Manor. She would like to meet you guys. Since you guys are trading partners." And she says, "Even that woman can stay over there." And no, yeah. So the witch nods and says, "Sure." And they walk to the Carush's camp, and they greet Subaru greets her, and he says, "Nice to meet you. I'm Subaru Natsuki." And I finally just remembered her name. Aura. Or I think it's Ura. It's Aura. It's Aura, I think? Aura. Yeah. That's what she calls herself. And instead of witch. And Subaru says, "Yep, that's her name." Now, she's just another person that was hired as a knight. Now, anyway, let's get there. And Felix, Subaru is still surprised that Felix is still a guy. And Felix is saying that Amelia probably raised her standings with that meeting. Since Subaru wasn't able to be there, so nothing bad really happened. They just think of Amelia as a little bit better. And she wasn't embarrassed by Subaru, so Subaru says maybe it was the right decision not to go. If Shadow knew about that, then he knew that I wasn't strong enough to help her. And she says, "You really are very weak, though." This is what the witch is saying right next to him. It's not Satella. I call Satella the witch and Aura the witch. Now, you know the difference. And Subaru is just saying, "Oh, shut up, you." He says, "It's very nice to meet you, Karush." And she then says, "It's also very likewise." Now, but why would you show up to the manor if if Amelia already left? He says, "I just missed her. That's all, and I'll be going in the morning." And Karush says, "Why is this another elf with you, though, if it's not Amelia?" And she says, "I'm nothing but a half-elf. I mixed with something else, that's all." And she says, "But I thought all of the elves were in ice. That's what I heard." And Subaru says, "Well, some of them could have survived for all we know. That's what happened with me." And she says, "Well, I won't pry anymore. Amelia has some very interesting characters I see now. Who's this shadow person? And who are they?" I heard about this rumor of this Zero Garden. And you keep calling this guy Shadow." But Subaru says, "Oh, his name's, he said not to use his name unless it's very important, at an important time." He says, "He just likes to be called Shadow. I don't know what you're talking about with the Zero Garden stuff." And she says, "They've been taking money from the capital. That's what I'm saying. It's a group of members. It's only rumors, though, that someone with blue hair, purple, and black, and a male figure that's still taking money from the capital and putting it into other businesses." And Subaru says, "I don't know what are you're on about. I don't. Shadow is all the way in the where Amelia should be heading to. So I don't know how he could be here and travel so fast back and forth." He's barely able to fly. This is what she tells. This is what Subaru tells, and she says, "Fine. Enough about Shadow. Why? How did you come into company with Amelia?" And Subaru says, "She saved my life, kinda. She made a good home for me, and then I wanted to be her knight ever since. That's all you need to know." And she says, "Well, that's all I wanted to ask. Is there anything you wanted to ask me?" He says, "If Amelia does win, what are you gonna do?" She says, "I'll keep running my company. That's all I'll do. But Amelia's not gonna win the royal selection. I will." And Subaru says, "I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to think of another option. Amelia's gonna win. I'm gonna make sure of that. And have a good night." And Aura follows Subaru, and she says to her that they also have extra rooms, and she says, "No, thank you." And Subaru then says, "Take the extra room." And she then just knocks him out and says, "He'll be all right." And yeah, nothing happens. She only respects Shadow. And Subaru then wakes up and sees that. Oh my! I can't remember her name. Ora is just sitting there on the floor, asleep, and she says, "You're finally awake. Now it's time for us to get back to the mansion." And Felix says, knocks on the door and says, "What are you lovebirds doing?" And Subaru says he hasn't done nothing. And he then runs away and he says, "Thank you for the hospitality," and he needs to go back to the camp. And Subaru tries to use the slime, but the slime is not working. And he says, "What is going on?" And she, Aura, or, the elf. Witch elf. Oh, okay, that actually sounds bad, worser. Okay, how do I say this? Aura is just a witch that's from Shadow's world. So the Shadow Witch, you can also say. I also call her that. She then starts to activate the slime again. He says, "All you got to do is focus your mind on that and then activate it." And he starts swinging on to buildings. Like, he's like Venom now. Subaru's like Venom. He says, "Okay, here I go." Whew. And he starts swinging from building to building, and everyone sees this. And Subaru says, "Hopefully we can make it in time." And he then travels on foot. As he's traveling on foot, Shadow is able to open up all of the ice, and he says, "All of you are now in Zero Garden." Yeah, he opens up the ice. I don't know how he does it, but he does it. "All of you are now in Zero Garden. I have saved you from the witch cultists. Those witch cultists poisoned you, froze you in ice. They were going to kill you, but the elf, I can't not remember Amelia's aunt's name. The Aura elf. She goes by Aura now. She helped save you, and she's now with Amelia. Now we must now focus and now build up the elves to become great again. Who's with me?" And they all say, they raise up their hands and like, "Shadow, we'll be with you." And they all raise their fists. "Shadow, Shadow, for freeing us. And we must thank Amelia for also freeing us also." And they all mobilize, and they head to find where Amelia is. And Shadow says, "Follow me." And yeah, I don't know what's with him manipulating people. I don't know how he did it again. He then says, "It's time to fly back." And they all head back at the same time. And Amelia's already back at the mansion with Rem. And Rem is a lot more powerful in this timeline. And also she doesn't run into the witches, the witch cultists. You'll see why she doesn't run into the witch cultists in this timeline and gets her her memories erased. I mean, I already did it to her technically because she's under Sid's control. But after she basically gets that she already technically got her mind erased kind of already. Anyway, enough about that. Subaru is marching back with Aura, and they were just climbing on buildings until they got tired, and they ran into Otto. Otto is a guy that just happened to be passing by at the end of Lagunica, heading that to the same direction, and he allowed them to ride with them. And he says, "Were you guys traveling on foot this whole time? How did you guys get here in just one day?" He says, "With our abilities." "And nice, thank you, Otto, for allowing us to travel here." He says, "No problem." As they are traveling in the night, he then hears noises, and he says, "No way." And Subaru says, "What do you mean, no way?" He says, "Is it?" And Otto starts shivering. He says, We need to turn back. We need to hurry up and get out of here." And Aura says, "I sense something." And then they see a big eyeball. It's the white whale. Oh my goodness, the computer turned off again. The white whale shows up. The white whale shows up at night. And Subaru is like, "What is that?" And Otto says, "We need to get out of here. It's the white whale." And Aura then jumps off the back of it and then starts trying to use magic to stop the whale, but she gets caught up in the mist. And he says, "Aura, where are you?" And she, Super says, "Stop the cart. We need to go back for her." But Otto says, "She sacrificed herself for us. We need to keep going." And they then hear an eyeball crashing right in front of the road, and Otto stops the cart and says, "Okay, she took out the eyeball out of it before she died, at least, so it won't be able to see good." And they hear the screaming of the white whale at night. Yeah, I bet that would be scary. And Subaru's saying, "I'm really gonna die here, and then Shadow's gonna be mad at me." And then he remembers that he has Shadow's power. All he has to do, and he also trained with Shamalak too. If you don't know, like, this is just Subaru is just a little bit. He's not OP, but he's able to. He trained a little bit with Shadow, so he's able to do more defense. So he jumps out the cart and he says, go to this place and tell Amelia what happened to us. You can keep going, Otto." And Otto says, "Are you sure?" And he says, "Well, good luck." And he runs away. And the whale was about to kill Otto, but Subaru activates Shadow's slime and cuts off the fin of the white whale. And he says, "Holy crap, that actually worked." And Subaru then trips over his leg because he's still not used to activating his fighting ability with the slime yet. And as the white whale is about to attack him, or the witch saves him and says, "We need to get into the sky." And she flies up into the sky and says, "This body barely knows how to fly. I need to get better with it." And Subaru says, "How much longer are you able to control this body?" And she says, "I'm surprised I'm still able to control it. Maybe because it's dead. I think I only have another 10 hours. This body needs to sleep regularly, and then I go unconscious for at least 10 hours. She says at least once a month she will at least go unconscious. But this body still has 10 hours, unless Shadow does his magic again." And she says, "Well, we just gotta defeat the whale in that time frame." And Subaru then says, "Okay, we can do this." And the white whale starts flying up towards them and swallows them. And before they can get adjusted, Subaru cuts a hole wide open into the whale. And the whale starts screaming out in pain. And Subaru crawls his way out and he says, "This is too crazy for me. When I said I wanted to be the hero, I did not mean this." And he starts walking around the whale and he starts shooting spikes into the whale with with Shadow's slime, and he's also adding his magic to it too, the Shamalak smoke. He then says Shamalak and blinds the whale with its other eye. And as he's falling to the ground, he says Shadow says that it can slow impact too, and he uses the slime to slow down his impact to the ground. He then only breaks his toe because she couldn't find him in time because of the smoke, and he says, "Oh, my toe's broken." And he says, "Maybe this will work," and he heals his toe with the slime, and he says, "This thing can do anything." And he says, "No wonder Shadow's so confident. Sid is really amazing." And he says, "I need to become able to become strong like him to protect people." And Subaru then sees that there's 3 whales now, and he says, "Okay, I don't know how much time I have with this slime. I need to hurry up and end this." And the witch comes down from the sky and uses a very powerful attack. She uses atomic on them. It's basically a nuclear bomb. And she told Subaru to get out the way. And Subaru uses the slime to impale all of them together and throw them. He is barely able to throw them in time to get attacked by that and move out the way with the rest of the slime. And a whole big explosion that could be seen all the way from Lugunica happens. A nuclear explosion. It's not nuclear, but it's like that. And everyone in the capital is able to see it. Karusha's camp, everyone's camp, Priscilla, yeah, and all that. Reinhardt even sees it, and he says, "What in the world is that?" And basically, like, anyone in the distance can see that attack, and also Amelia is able to see it too. It's like a big puffy cloud. Yeah, that's how strong that attack was. And Amelia sees this attack from her balcony, and she says, "Oh, there's a big attack going on." And she tries to warn Roswell about this, but Roswell says that there's nothing to fear. Reinhardt probably have already seen that, and if they come closer, we'll know what to do. And Shadow is still marching with everyone and training them. So it's going to take them like a couple more days to get back. I don't know why I'm lying. It's only going to take them a day or two. And it's already been a day, so they're like halfway there on the journey. And he's also training them to become Mints of the Shadows in Zero Garden. So he's just manipulating everyone. I don't even know how he did this. Okay, as this is happening, Subaru sees that he broke his leg from that attack. From that atomic attack, and his leg is all twisted up, and he's like, "Jesus." He says, "Oh my goodness." He wouldn't say Jesus. That's just me. He sees that his leg is broken, it's doing a whole 360. And Aura says, like, she's tired now. And she says, "I'll be able to fly you back to Otto's cart, and then I must sleep." And yeah, Subaru gets his leg healed, and he then is able to find Otto's cart. But Otto's cart is destroyed, and he's barely alive. That nuclear explosion also caught up with him too, and he's knocked out. And he says, "Geez, Louise, Otto, I thought you would be a lot faster." And he then says, "Subaru, how are you alive?" And he says, "We'll be walking back." She's knocked out also. And he starts using the slime again to get back to Roswell Mansion. I'm getting cramp in my foot. Ooh. 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 No, that's how long I've been sitting. Oh. I got a cramp in my foot. Okay. Okay, I'm good now. As this is happening, you guys even heard of the witch cultists yet. So, yeah, the witch cultists were also making a move. As Subaru makes it back in, a timeline in episode 15, basically. But he's a lot stronger, and Shadow will be there right when the attack happens. So, yeah, he basically only died 3 to 4 times and he's a lot more powerful. He's a little bit more confident, but he knows that he's not the strongest. He still needs to work on his skills to protect everyone, to make sure no one has to ever be manipulated just to be able to for him to survive. That's what he tells himself. And he then makes it back, and Amelia walks outside, and she sees Subaru, and he also sees the elf with him. And she says, "This elf looks very familiar. It's like I know this person, but how? How did you find an elf?" And Subaru says, "We need medical assistance. We caused that explosion a couple hours ago. I'm pretty sure the capital has already seen it." And Amelia helps them inside, and Rem and Rom are like, "How did you do this?" And bringing more people in. And Roswald is still surprised by this. He says, "I have to go out for a while. Subaru, make sure you actually stay safe this time." And he says, "Yep, I will." And he then lays down, and Amelia says, "Why are you doing all this? You never told me why. Why did you want to become my knight?" And Subaru says, "Well, it's because you're the first person to be nice to me. Besides, Reinhardt. But you don't remember, though." And she's still confused by this, but she says, "You're a very good person. You're going to be a great leader. That's why I follow you." That's what Subaru says. And Shadow, and you must forgive us. And she says, "Forgive you of what?" "That person is related to you. I know that for sure. But they lost their memory. Just like you, I think." And we also, Shadow is freeing the other elves as we speak. And Amelia then jumps up and says, "Why are you doing this? I'm supposed to honor my deal with Roswald. I didn't ask for this." And Subaru says, "If a knight isn't able to help the person that needs protecting, then he's not a good knight." But she says, "This was not," and she says, "You also went to the capital. Also, I don't understand why." And Subaru says, "I went to the capital just to see you, but you already went away already, so I didn't interrupt anyway. So what's the problem with that?" And she says, "You didn't follow orders. You're supposed to follow orders." And he says, "Amelia, you can't just rely on yourself. You need to be strong and rely on the people around you. And I can be that person for you. You just need to trust in me." And as he says this, an explosion happens outside, and Rem busts into the door and says, "The witch cultists are attacking." And Subaru says, "What about the villagers?" She says, "The Zero Garden has already evacuated the people in the village. They're already at the mansion." And Amelia says, "Zero Garden? What is this? What are you talking about, Rem?" And Subaru says, "We must lurk in the shadows. That's all you need to know. Now, Amelia, I need you to go to Beatrix. Beatrice. I know, Beatrice hasn't been that important because she's hasn't really been able to like shine. Subaru knows about her because it's still Subaru. He normally goes there. Shadow would probably know about her, but I don't know if he would talk to get information from her. So he shows Amelia to where with a lucky guess where to go, and he takes the witch there with him with Otto, and all of the people from the village go there with Beatrice. They all are able to fit in the room somehow. I don't know how. Anyway, Subaru then says, "I'm going to go and finish off those witch cultists." And Rem gets thrown through the building, and her arm is broken, and she says, "Subaru, you need to get out of here and get into that room." And Subaru says, "I'm not leaving you, Rem." And Rom's eye was cut very badly, and she is still fighting. And Subaru jumps down and kills the witch cultists that were about to kill Rom. And Petra is still with. Oh yeah, I forgot about Petra. If you guys know, Petra is from the village. She's a very important character, but she hasn't had really Shadows technically saved them from the dogs. So Melty is just attacking from the shadows, and Melty then grabs her and he says, "Oh, one of the villagers. Then you should hurry up and go to the mansion." And she says, I'm helping you fight. Shadow said to protect you." And she then summons her beast to attack the witch cultist. And she says, and Subaru says, "Okay, you're one weird kid. Shadow's really been working hard these last 2 weeks, I see." And yeah, Roswald is not here. He's trying to envelop. Why did I say envelop? That sounds so bad. He's trying to get a contract with Elsa to do, to do something to Shadow. As this is happening, Betelgeuse shows up. He's one of the witches of Sloth. I think he's Sloth. He says, "Okay, I need to calm down. I've been making this video for like a whole hour and 30 minutes now." Anyway, he says, "I am the legendary Betelgeuse of Sloth. Give me the witch right now." And Subaru says, "I don't think so. You're not getting Amelia, and she's not a witch." And Betelgeuse says, "She's mine. She's mine. Mine." And Subaru then sees the hand is about to attack him, and he moves Rom and throws her to Rem, and Rem catches her with slime, and then he then grabs Rem grabs Petra with the slime also, and throws them into. They don't get thrown in. She catches them and then puts them into the room, and she says, "Stay here, sis." And Rom tries to open up the door, but the door is locked, and she then jumps down with Subaru and says, "Looks like you got a little bit better with your slime. But looks like we just gotta keep attacking until Shadow comes, I see." And Subaru says, "Yep. Seems like he's the main character, I see. Instead of me." And Rem's like, "Whatever that means." And Rem uses her lucky star, enveloped with the shadow, and she creates multiple of them. Yeah, she made a multi shadow clone jutsu, kinda. It's kinda cool, isn't it? And she also makes a crowbar. She says, "Here, Subaru." And Subaru gets 2 crowbars, and he says, "Why are we using this style? I don't even..." and then he realizes that crowbars are very deadly weapons. So he then uses the inverse of the crowbar to hit the witch cultist on the head. And he says, "I don't really feel bad for killing you. Just get out the way." And he kills one with the crowbar, and he takes off their face with it. Yeah, this Subaru is a savage. He says, "Rest in peace." And he then hits another one with the back of the crowbar in the head, and their head gets squished to the ground. As this is happening, Betelgeuse is summoning hundreds of hands, and Subaru sees all these hands, and he says, "Rem, there's hundreds of hands right after you. Dodge all of them. I'll tell you where they are." He just sees them. He doesn't know what they are, and he says, and she says, "It's the witch's mask. Yeah, I told you you're one of those. You're probably a part of the cult." And she says, where are the witch's hands at?" And he says, "Dodge left," as he's killing more members of the witch cultists. "Dodge right." And Rem then jumps up into the air and wraps her chain around Betelgeuse. And Betelgeuse then breaks her lucky star, and then tries to impale Rem with one of the hands, but she's able to barely dodge by Subaru directing her. And Subaru is like, "That's enough of you." And he grabs Betelgeuse with the slime from Shadow, and he then throws him to the ground and uses Shamalock. And he tells Rem to escape back to the mansion, as he's gonna hold them off as long as he can. But as this is happening, Subaru is able to get a close attack onto Betelgeuse, and he stabs Betelgeuse right in the heart, and he feels a connection to Betelgeuse. And he sees Satella, and he says, "Are you the witch? Are you?" And she says, "You will understand my love for you. You will understand why I did all this." And he says, "No, I won't. I've died multiple times because of you." And Shadow lost his people. And all these witch coasters are now after Amelia. Maybe because of me, or is it because of him? I don't know. But I just want you to just get rid of it. And Betelgeuse starts to look and says, "It's Satella, the only one." And he tries to touch her, but he gets, killed in that world. And Subaru sees that Betelgeuse is coughing up blood, and Subaru then was about to try to finish off Betelgeuse, but he gets stabbed right in the gut, and he gets thrown back into the fountain. That fountain it keeps getting damaged, and Subaru says, "Oh, I could die from this wound." And Betelgeuse says, "Before I die, I can at least finish you off." And Shadow then shows up and then jumps out of nowhere and does a drop kick on Betelgeuse, kicking him all the way down to the village. And Reinhardt is still, Reinhardt didn't leave to go somewhere yet. So Reinhardt sees Betelgeuse flying through the village, and he says, "He's one of the witch cultists. We can attack him." And Reinhardt sees this and he doesn't know what's going on. He says, "Are you a part of the witch cultists?" And Betelgeuse says, "Die!" And he tries to attack Reinhardt. Yeah, so it's basically been a couple of hours. I'm pretty sure Reinhardt would be able to get there in a couple of hours because he's Reinhardt. And he brought people with him. And he then uses his, I call it the loot house attack, on Betelgeuse and kills him. And Reinhardt was then taken over by Sloth, but he's able to break that curse because he can break envy with one of his special one of his gifts he was blessed with. And he says, "Luckily, I was the right one to kill this person." And then he runs towards the mansion. He says, "No one's in the village." And Felix then make sure the head is cut off of Betelgeuse, and all his body parts are split up. And he says, "Well, all jobs that ends well. Looks like we didn't even have to come here." I wonder who threw him all the way across the forest like that. And Shadow says, while this was happening, Shadow shows Amelia all of the elves that he freed, and he says, "Roswell could have did this probably, but he was keeping this hidden from you." And Amelia says, "I know that he had it hidden from me because we made a deal. I didn't want you to do this. Now he has no reason to keep helping my campaign. And if I lose, what am I gonna do then?" And Subaru says, "If he throws you out, then it'll just create a bigger mansion with all the elves. You have family members now. And everyone doesn't remember Amelia, but they know that she helped save them. And they all congratulate her from being one to becoming a queen and change the relationships with elves." And she says, "I don't deserve this." And Subaru then hits her on the head and says, "You're going to be a great queen. Stop being so pessimistic. We were able to only stop the witch coats is because of your thinking. If I would have never came back to this mansion, and if you never would have saved me or allowed me to stay here, all these people would have died. Shadow would have not be here. You're able to bring people together somehow, so you should be glad of that." And she then sees Reinhardt, and he says, "Looks like you killed all the witch cultists I see. Where's Roswald?" And Shadow says, "Roswald has betrayed us. I know he has." And Shadow's like, "I seen him betray us. He's with Elsa. I put a tracker on her." And Subaru's like, "Well, why would Roswell be with Elsa? I don't understand." And he then signals to Melty to just go back with everyone, and says, "Well, we'll figure this out once he comes back. I want you guys to keep this all a secret from him. If he does try to kill, I think he's trying to kill one of us. That's what I'm thinking. Now, I'll be going back to the shadows." And Subaru sees that it's now nighttime, and he says, "We should just go after Roswell right now." And he yells at Subaru and says, "You are the main character. You must stay here with Amelia." And he says, "I am Atomic." And he disappears. And the elves all follow him, and they all disappear as well, following him. And that's where I'll be ending the video. So leave a like and subscribe, and yeah, peace out.